जी करे देखता रहूं।
क्या?
कितना प्यारा तुझे रब ने बनाया, कितना प्यारा तुझे रब ने बनाया। जी कर देखता रहूं, कितना सोना तुझे रब ने बनाया, कितना सोना तुझे रब ने बनाया। जी कर देखता रहूं। रब ने बनाया, जी कर देखता रहूं, कितना सोना तुझे रब ने बनाया। जी कर देखता रहूं। अंबर से आई है परियों की रानी, देख जिसे होती है सबको हैरानी। ओ अंबर से आई है परियों की रानी, देख जिसे होती है सबको हैरानी। सुंदर सा मुखड़ा है फूलों के जैसा, होगा ना दुनिया में कोई ऐसा।
कितना सीधा, कितना सच्चा मेरा राजा, कितना अच्छा। मुझको तो अच्छी लगती है तेरी हर नादानी, मुझको तो
तुझे रब ने बनाया। जी कर देखता रहूं, कितना सोना तुझे रब ने बनाया। जी कर देखता रहूं। कोयल के जैसी है तेरी ये बोली, मूरत के जैसी है सूरत ये भोली। ओ कोयल के जैसी है तेरी ये बोली, मूरत के जैसी है सूरत ये भोली। बागों में जाओ ना दिल मेरा घबराए, पैरों में कांटा कोई हाय न चुभ जाए।
मैं दीवानी हो ना जाऊं, तेरी बातों में खो ना जाऊं। उड़ता बादल बहता पानी बोले रुत मस्तानी, उड़ता बादल बहता पानी बोले रुत मस्तानी।
क्या?
सबसे प्यारा मेरा यारा राजा हिंदुस्तानी।
कितना प्यारा तुझे रब ने बनाया, कितना सोना तुझे रब ने बनाया, जी कर देखता रहूं।
तू है पागल, तू है जोकर, तू है दिलबर जानी, सबसे प्यारा मेरा यारा राजा हिंदुस्तानी।
कितना प्यारा तुझे रब ने बनाया, जी कर देखता रहूं। जी करे देखता रहूं।
जोकर।
परदेसी जाना नहीं, परदेसी परदेसी जाना नहीं, मुझे छोड़ के परदेसी मेरे यारा, वादा निभाना तुम याद रखना, कहीं भूल न जाना।
परदेसी परदेसी जाना नहीं, मुझे छोड़ के
याद तुम्हें तड़पाएगी, मैं जागूंगा नींद तुम्हें ना आएगी, हर पल मेरी याद तुम्हें तड़पाएगी, मैं जागूंगा नींद तुम्हें ना आएगी, छोड़ के ऐसे हाल में जो तुम जाओगे, सच कहता हूँ जान बहुत पछताओगे।
परदेसी मेरे यारा, मुझे ना रुलाना, तुम याद रखना कहीं भूल न जाना।
परदेसी परदेसी जाना नहीं, परदेसी परदेसी जाना नहीं, मुझे छोड़ के परदेसी मेरे यारा, वादा निभाना, मुझे याद रखना कहीं हो।
We've all searched for the one, but what if the most courageous love story is recognizing when it's time to let go? We've all dreamt of that perfect connection, that soulmate who understands us without words, who walks beside us through thick and thin. We invest our hearts, our time, and our energy into building relationships, hoping they will blossom into something lasting and beautiful. But what happens when, despite our best efforts, something just feels off? Today, I want to talk about the subtle yet powerful language of the universe, the gentle nudges and sometimes not so gentle shoves that might be telling us a truth we may be hesitant to acknowledge. That perhaps, some paths are not meant to be walked together. It's crucial to understand that these aren't about minor disagreements or temporary bumps in the road. Every relationship faces challenges. Instead, we're talking about a persistent undercurrent, a consistent disharmony that no amount of effort seems to truly resolve. As we noted earlier, one of the key indicators is persistent and fundamental incompatibility. Think about it. Are your core values constantly clashing? Do you envision drastically different futures? Do your fundamental needs for support, communication, and connection remain consistently unmet, despite honest attempts to bridge the gap? These aren't just surface-level differences. They are deep-seated divergences that create a constant friction, preventing genuine understanding and mutual support. It's like trying to fit two puzzle pieces that simply weren't designed for each other. You can force them, but the picture will never be complete. Secondly, pay attention to the lack of growth and stagnation. A healthy relationship should be a fertile ground for individual and shared evolution. You should feel inspired, supported in your aspirations, and encouraged to become the best version of yourself. But what if you find yourselves feeling stuck, uninspired, or even worse, actively held back from pursuing your dreams and evolving as individuals? If the relationship feels like a cage rather than a launching pad, it might be a sign that you're on diverging paths, and staying together is hindering the potential for growth in both of your lives. Finally, consider the consistent external obstacles and inner turmoil. Sometimes, the universe speaks through circumstances. Do you find yourselves facing recurring external challenges that consistently pull you apart? Geographical distances that never seem to resolve, conflicting life circumstances that create insurmountable barriers, or even a constant sense of unease and anxiety within yourself, a persistent feeling that something is fundamentally wrong, despite all your efforts to make it work? This inner turmoil, this nagging feeling that something isn't right, coupled with external roadblocks, can be the universe gently, or perhaps firmly, guiding you towards a different direction. Recognizing these signs isn't about assigning blame or admitting failure. It's about having the courage to listen to a deeper wisdom, to acknowledge that sometimes, love isn't enough to overcome fundamental incompatibility or prevent individual stagnation. It's about understanding that letting go can be an act of profound self-love and a necessary step towards finding the connections that truly nourish and support our journey. It takes courage to face the possibility that a relationship isn't meant to be. It requires honesty, both with ourselves and with our partners. But by paying attention to these signs, by listening to the subtle whispers of the universe and the deeper truths within our own hearts, we can save ourselves from unnecessary pain and open ourselves up to the possibility of finding relationships that truly align with our paths, allowing us to grow, thrive, and ultimately find a deeper and more authentic happiness. Persistent and fundamental incompatibility. This isn't about the everyday squabbles that pepper the landscape of any relationship, the minor disagreements over whose turn it is to do the dishes, or the occasional clash of opinions on a movie genre. These are the trivialities that, while sometimes irritating, ultimately don't shake the foundations of a connection built on shared values and a common vision. What we delve into here is a far more profound and unsettling phenomenon: the persistent and fundamental incompatibility that acts as a relentless undercurrent, a constant source of friction that erodes the very bedrock upon which a lasting and fulfilling partnership is meant to stand. Imagine trying to build a house on a fault line. You can pour the strongest concrete, erect the most robust walls, and furnish it with the most exquisite decor, but the inherent instability beneath will always threaten its integrity. Similarly, a relationship built on fundamentally incompatible foundations is perpetually vulnerable, no matter how much effort is invested in trying to smooth over the cracks that inevitably reappear. These aren't superficial differences that can be easily navigated with compromise. They are deeply ingrained disparities in the very essence of who you are as individuals and what you seek from life and from a partnership. Consider the realm of core values. These are the guiding principles that shape our beliefs, our behaviors, and our decisions. If one partner fundamentally prioritizes ambition and career success above all else, while the other cherishes a life centered around family and community, this isn't a simple difference in preference. It's a clash of foundational values that will inevitably lead to conflict in how time is spent, resources are allocated, and life priorities are established. One might constantly feel neglected and undervalued, while the other might feel stifled and misunderstood. These aren't disagreements that can be easily negotiated. They represent divergent philosophies of life that will consistently pull the relationship in opposing directions. Similarly, discrepancies in life goals can create an insurmountable chasm. If one partner dreams of settling down in a quiet countryside, raising a large family, and embracing a slower pace of life, while the other is driven by a desire for constant adventure, travel, and a fast-paced urban existence, these aren't merely different hobbies or interests. They represent fundamentally different visions for the future, for the very trajectory of their lives. How can two people build a shared future when their individual maps point towards entirely different destinations? Attempts to compromise might lead to resentment and a feeling of unfulfilled potential for both individuals, as one or both feel they are sacrificing their deeply held aspirations for the sake of the relationship. Furthermore, fundamental needs within a relationship often go unmet when incompatibility reigns. These needs encompass the emotional, intellectual, and even spiritual sustenance that we seek from a partner. If one person requires constant affirmation and emotional intimacy, while the other struggles with expressing vulnerability and providing consistent emotional support, this isn't just a difference in communication styles. It's a fundamental mismatch in emotional needs that can lead to feelings of loneliness, insecurity, and a profound sense of being unloved or unseen. Similarly, if one partner thrives on intellectual stimulation and deep conversations, while the other prefers superficial interactions, this can lead to a growing sense of intellectual isolation and a lack of meaningful connection on a cognitive level. These unmet fundamental needs create a void that no amount of superficial affection or shared activities can truly fill. The signs of this persistent and fundamental incompatibility often manifest as recurring arguments that never truly get resolved. You might find yourselves circling the same issues repeatedly, engaging in the same frustrating debates without ever reaching a genuine understanding or a mutually agreeable solution. This isn't about healthy conflict resolution, where disagreements lead to growth and a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives. Instead, it's a repetitive cycle of misunderstanding and frustration, fueled by the underlying differences that remain unaddressed and perhaps even unbridgeable. These arguments often leave both partners feeling drained, resentful, and increasingly hopeless about the future of the relationship. Beyond overt conflict, this incompatibility can also manifest as a pervasive sense of unease and disconnection, even during periods of apparent calm. You might find yourselves living parallel lives under the same roof, sharing space but not truly sharing your inner worlds. There might be a lack of genuine curiosity about each other's thoughts, feelings, and experiences, a subtle but palpable emotional distance that grows wider over time. This isn't simply a temporary lull in intimacy. It's a fundamental lack of alignment that prevents true emotional intimacy and genuine connection from flourishing. You might feel a sense of loneliness even when your partner is physically present, a deep-seated feeling that you are not truly seen, heard, or understood at your core. Attempts to bridge this fundamental incompatibility often feel like pushing a boulder uphill. You might invest tremendous effort in trying to understand each other's perspectives, to find common ground, or to compromise on significant issues, only to find yourselves constantly hitting a wall. These efforts, while well-intentioned, ultimately prove futile because the underlying differences are too deeply ingrained. This can lead to feelings of exhaustion, frustration, and a growing sense of resentment towards the relationship itself, as you feel like you are constantly fighting an uphill battle against the very fabric of your connection. It's crucial to distinguish this fundamental incompatibility from the normal challenges and compromises inherent in any long-term relationship. Every couple will face disagreements, navigate differing opinions, and learn to compromise on various aspects of their lives. However, these are typically within the context of a shared foundation of values, goals, and fundamental needs. When the incompatibility is fundamental, these differences are not easily bridgeable through compromise. They represent core aspects of your individual identities and your visions for your lives that are simply not in alignment. Ignoring these persistent signs of fundamental incompatibility can lead to years of unhappiness, resentment, and a feeling of living a life that is not truly authentic to either individual. Staying in a relationship that is fundamentally mismatched out of fear of being alone, a sense of obligation, or a misguided belief that things will eventually change can be deeply damaging to your emotional and mental well-being. It can stifle personal growth, create chronic stress, and ultimately prevent both individuals from finding partners who are truly compatible and with whom they can build a genuinely fulfilling and harmonious life. Recognizing these signs is not an admission of failure, but rather an act of self-awareness and courage. It requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths and to prioritize your own well-being and long-term happiness. It's about understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your partner is to acknowledge that your paths are diverging and to allow each other the space to find relationships that are truly aligned with your individual needs and aspirations. This isn't about giving up easily. It's about recognizing when the fundamental foundations are simply not there to support a healthy and thriving partnership. It's about having the wisdom to discern between temporary turbulence and a persistent, underlying incompatibility that signals a fundamental misalignment. Lack of growth and stagnation. The very essence of life is movement, evolution, and progress. From the smallest seed pushing through the soil to the vast expanse of galaxies expanding into the cosmos, growth is an inherent and undeniable force. In the realm of human connection, a thriving relationship should mirror this natural principle, acting as fertile ground where both individuals are nurtured, challenged, and inspired to become the most authentic and expansive versions of themselves. It should be a dynamic interplay of mutual support and encouragement, a partnership that fuels individual aspirations and fosters shared progress. However, when a relationship is not aligned with our deeper needs and our inherent drive for self-actualization, it can become a stagnant pool, hindering personal growth and preventing the blossoming of our full potential. The universe, in its subtle yet profound ways, often sends signals when a connection is no longer serving this vital function, when it becomes a barrier rather than a catalyst for evolution. Consider the feeling of being tethered, not in a comforting embrace, but in a way that restricts movement and stifles ambition. A relationship that lacks the capacity for mutual growth can often manifest as a subtle or not so subtle discouragement of individual pursuits. This might not always be intentional or malicious. It can stem from insecurity, differing priorities, or simply a lack of understanding or appreciation for the other person's aspirations. One partner might find their dreams subtly undermined, their passions met with lukewarm responses, or their efforts to expand their horizons viewed with suspicion or even resentment. This creates an environment where the natural inclination to grow and explore is suppressed, leading to a feeling of being held back, of not being fully supported in becoming who you are meant to be. Imagine a plant confined to a pot that is too small. Its roots become constricted, its growth stunted, and its ability to flourish severely limited. Similarly, in a relationship that hinders growth, your individual potential can become constrained. You might find yourself dimming your light, shelving your ambitions, or compromising on your core desires in an attempt to maintain harmony, but this ultimately leads to a sense of inner dissatisfaction and a feeling of living a life that is less than what it could be. This isn't about occasional sacrifices or compromises that are made for the greater good of the relationship. It's about a consistent pattern where one or both partners feel their individual growth is being actively or passively impeded. This stagnation can manifest in various ways. It might be a lack of encouragement for pursuing educational or career goals, a subtle discouragement of developing new hobbies or interests, or a resistance to personal development initiatives. It can even manifest as a lack of intellectual stimulation within the relationship, where conversations remain superficial and there is no real exchange of ideas or exploration of new perspectives. Over time, this lack of intellectual and personal nourishment can lead to a feeling of being stuck in a rut, of not evolving as an individual, and of the relationship itself becoming a source of inertia rather than inspiration. Furthermore, a relationship that isn't meant to foster growth can often lead to a feeling of shared stagnation. Instead of evolving together, learning from each other, and embarking on new adventures as a couple, you might find yourselves in a repetitive cycle where the relationship lacks dynamism and forward momentum. There might be a resistance to change, a clinging to the familiar even when it no longer serves either of you, and a lack of shared vision for the future. This can lead to a feeling of being stuck in time, of the relationship becoming a comfortable but ultimately unfulfilling plateau. One of the subtle yet powerful signs of this lack of growth is a feeling of being uninspired by your partner, and perhaps even feeling that you are no longer inspiring them. A healthy relationship is a source of mutual admiration and motivation. You should feel energized by your partner's passions, encouraged by their belief in you, and inspired to reach for your own goals. When this dynamic shifts, and you find yourselves feeling indifferent or even uninspired by each other's endeavors, it can be a sign that the relationship is no longer serving its vital role in fostering individual and shared growth. This stagnation can also lead to a feeling of resentment, even if it's not consciously acknowledged. The unfulfilled potential, the dreams that have been put on hold, and the feeling of being held back can simmer beneath the surface, creating a subtle undercurrent of dissatisfaction that erodes the foundation of the relationship. This resentment can manifest in passive-aggressive behavior, emotional withdrawal, or a general sense of unhappiness that permeates the connection. The universe often sends signals of this lack of growth through a persistent feeling of being unfulfilled within the relationship. You might have everything that outwardly appears to be a stable and comfortable partnership, but there's a nagging sense that something is missing, a deep yearning for more stimulation, more support for your aspirations, more shared progress. This inner voice, this feeling of unease, is a powerful indicator that the relationship is not providing the fertile ground necessary for your continued growth and evolution. It's important to recognize that growth is not always about grand achievements or dramatic transformations. It can be about subtle shifts in perspective, the acquisition of new knowledge, the development of new skills, or simply becoming a more self-aware and authentic version of yourself. A healthy relationship supports these ongoing processes, providing a safe and encouraging space for vulnerability, exploration, and personal evolution. When this support is lacking, or when the relationship actively hinders these processes, It's a significant sign that the connection is no longer serving your highest good. Staying in a relationship that stifles growth can lead to a profound sense of regret and unfulfilled potential. Years can pass by, and you might find yourself looking back with a sense of what could have been, of the dreams that were never pursued and the person you never fully became. The cost of staying in a stagnant relationship is not just the lack of personal progress. It's the potential for a life lived with a persistent sense of dissatisfaction and the gnawing feeling of having settled for less than you deserve. The universe's signals regarding a lack of growth are an invitation to reevaluate the relationship's role in your life. It's a call to consider whether this connection is truly serving your journey of self-discovery and evolution. Recognizing these signs requires courage and a willingness to confront the possibility that staying might be hindering not only your own growth, but also the potential for both individuals to find relationships that truly nurture their individual and shared aspirations. It's about understanding that sometimes letting go of a stagnant connection is the most empowering act of self-love, paving the way for new beginnings and the opportunity to finally flourish. The lack of growth isn't just a missing element. It's a powerful sign that the fundamental dynamic of the relationship is no longer aligned with a natural and essential human need to evolve and become. Consistent external obstacles and inner turmoil, life, in its intricate tapestry, often presents us with challenges. Relationships, being complex ecosystems of two individual lives intertwined, are certainly not immune to these external pressures and internal anxieties. However, when the journey of a partnership is consistently met with seemingly insurmountable external obstacles, coupled with a persistent and unsettling inner turmoil, it can be interpreted as a profound message from the universe, a signal that the path you are on together may not be the one destined for either of you. This isn't about the normal ebb and flow of life's difficulties, the occasional curveballs that test the resilience of any bond. Instead, it speaks to a recurring pattern of external forces actively working against the union, mirrored by a deep-seated unease within, a persistent feeling that something is fundamentally amiss despite conscious efforts to forge ahead. Consider the nature of these consistent external obstacles. They aren't isolated incidents or temporary setbacks that can be weathered with mutual support and determination. Instead, they manifest as a relentless barrage of challenges that seem to consistently pull you and your partner in different directions, or create seemingly insurmountable barriers to your shared happiness and progress. This could take many forms. Perhaps geographical distances consistently arise, not as temporary assignments, but as recurring and prolonged separations that strain the very fabric of your daily connection. It might be conflicting life circumstances that perpetually create friction, demanding and incompatible career paths that leave little time or energy for each other, conflicting family obligations that constantly pull you apart, or even differing financial situations that create persistent stress and tension within the relationship. These external obstacles often feel like more than just bad luck or random occurrences. There's a sense of inevitability, a feeling that no matter how hard you try to overcome them, new challenges consistently emerge to take their place. It's as if the universe itself is conspiring to keep you apart, throwing one roadblock after another in your path. While resilience and the ability to navigate challenges together are vital in any relationship, a consistent pattern of external forces actively working against the union can be a significant indicator that the underlying alignment may be missing. It begs the question, why is the universe seemingly creating such persistent hurdles? Could it be a gentle, or perhaps not so gentle, nudge towards a different direction, a path where such relentless external resistance is not the norm? Compounding these external challenges is the often overlooked but equally significant aspect of inner turmoil. This isn't the occasional doubt or fleeting moment of anxiety that can surface in any relationship. Instead, it's a persistent and unsettling feeling deep within, a nagging sense that something is fundamentally wrong, even during periods of apparent peace or stability. It's a disquiet that doesn't quite align with the surface reality, a subtle but persistent voice whispering that this connection isn't quite right, that you are not truly at ease or at home in this partnership. This inner turmoil can manifest in various ways. It might be a persistent feeling of anxiety or unease when you think about the future of the relationship. It could be a recurring sense of doubt about your compatibility or the long-term viability of the partnership, even when there are no immediate external crises. It might even manifest physically as a constant state of low-level stress, difficulty sleeping, or a general feeling of being unwell, all subtly linked to the underlying tension within the relationship. Often, this inner turmoil exists beneath a veneer of effort and determination. You might be consciously working hard to make the relationship succeed, diligently addressing external challenges and trying to maintain a positive outlook. However, despite these efforts, the inner disquiet persists. This disconnect between your conscious efforts and your subconscious feelings is a powerful signal that something is not in alignment at a deeper level. Your intuition, that inner compass that often guides us more accurately than our rational minds, might be trying to communicate a truth that your conscious mind is hesitant to acknowledge. The interplay between these consistent external obstacles and the persistent inner turmoil is crucial. The external challenges can exacerbate the internal unease, creating a feedback loop of stress and doubt. Conversely, the underlying inner turmoil can make it more difficult to effectively navigate the external obstacles, as your emotional reserves are already depleted by the persistent sense that something is wrong. When both of these elements are consistently present, it's a powerful indicator that the universe, in its grand and often mysterious way, might be trying to guide you towards a different path, one where the external circumstances are more supportive and the internal landscape feels more peaceful and aligned. Ignoring these consistent external obstacles and the persistent inner turmoil can lead to a state of chronic stress and unhappiness. You might find yourselves constantly battling external forces, expending enormous amounts of energy trying to overcome hurdles that seem to endlessly appear. This can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and a feeling of being perpetually in survival mode within the relationship. Simultaneously, the persistent inner turmoil can erode your sense of well-being, leading to anxiety, depression, and a diminished sense of self-worth. It's important to distinguish these significant and recurring patterns from the normal challenges that any relationship faces. Every couple will encounter difficult times, external stressors, and moments of doubt. However, the key here is the consistency and the fundamental nature of these obstacles, coupled with a persistent and unsettling inner feeling. This isn't about weathering a storm together. It's about constantly sailing against a relentless headwind while feeling a growing unease about the direction of the journey. Recognizing these signs requires a deep level of self-awareness and a willingness to listen to your intuition. It means acknowledging that sometimes, despite your best efforts and intentions, the universe might be presenting a different narrative, one where the path forward together is consistently fraught with difficulty and internal discord. It's about having the courage to consider the possibility that these obstacles and this inner turmoil are not meant to be overcome through sheer force of will, but rather to be heeded as signals pointing towards a different and perhaps more aligned future for both individuals. Ultimately, the consistent external obstacles and the persistent inner turmoil can serve as a powerful catalyst for introspection and re-evaluation. They invite you to question whether the struggle is truly worth the emotional toll, whether the constant battle against external forces and the persistent inner unease are signs that this path is not meant to be yours together. It's about understanding that sometimes the most courageous and loving decision you can make, both for yourself and for your partner, is to acknowledge these signs and to allow yourselves the possibility of finding paths where external circumstances are more supportive and your inner landscape feels more peaceful and authentically aligned. The universe, in its wisdom, might be gently guiding you towards a future where both of you can thrive, even if it means doing so apart. In conclusion, recognizing the persistent and fundamental incompatibility, the lack of growth and stagnation, and the consistent external obstacles coupled with inner turmoil are not signs of failure, but rather invitations to listen deeply to the universe and to ourselves. They are gentle, and sometimes not so gentle, nudges guiding us towards greater alignment and well-being. Acknowledging these signals takes courage and self-awareness, but ultimately allows us to release relationships that hinder our individual journeys and open ourselves to connections that truly nourish and support our growth and happiness. Thank you.